I may or may not be sitting on a pile of stacked yearbooks right now.
You fine, you're gonna be alright, baby.
Hey, Kyle, how you doing? What is this dream you're pursuing? What are these feelings you mention? Are you?
Hey guys, so today I'm going to be showing you my top 5 favorite summer reads. So I have a lot of books here. Well, that's a lie. I have 5. What am I even talking about? Do I make sense ever? I don't think I do. Okay, so here's the books that I have to show you guys today. And the first one is by an author that you have probably heard of before. She writes a lot of romantic books between a guy and a girl falling in love. And this book is called Along for the Ride by Sarah Dessen. And this book is about this girl who has insomnia. And she moved into this new town and she doesn't really know anybody, you know, the typical romance book, you know, basically. And she meets this guy who will ride his bike around at night because he also has insomnia. And so she's 17, but she's never ridden a bike before. She doesn't know how to ride a bike. So he teaches her how to ride a bike and they start to ride together. She becomes really obsessed with riding and she starts to get into like competitions and stuff. And like during all of this, you know, they start to fall for each other, and overall it's a really great book and I would recommend reading it. So yeah. Also, if you hear rain, which I don't know if you can because I might be playing music over this so that you can't, but the rain just started to pour as soon as I started recording. Lovely. Anyway, the next book I really like because I feel like there's not a lot of books about anxiety. And this book is about this girl named Audrey. This book is called Finding Audrey, and this girl has anxiety. And she always wears these really dark glasses to kind of hide behind. And she doesn't really like to go out and talk to people. She's very nervous around people, doesn't like to be touched or talk to anybody. And so her brother's friend has tried to talk to her before in the past, and he really is trying to make an effort to get to know this person, to get to know Audrey. And so he starts to write like little messages to her and says, hey, why don't we hang out? And you know, her being the anxious person she is very reluctant at first, but then she starts to open up more as it goes along, and she really starts to, you know, become a less anxious person and knowing this guy. And it's a really, really good book, and I would suggest to anybody to read this. So the next book is called Tell Me 3 Things. And this book is about this girl who is starting college and she's new to the campus. She doesn't know anybody. And she gets this random text, and this person says, hey, I saw you walking around campus. I've been here for a while. You know, you can ask me anything that you want to know and I can give you advice. And so obviously she's like, who is this random person like texting me, like, you know? And so the person doesn't want to tell who it is, but he's like, I'll give you advice. So they start talking about like the school and things that she should know. And so more as the story progresses, she wonders, who is this person? Who am I talking to? And they began to start talking less about school and more about each other. And so I don't want to give too much away, so you'll have to read this book to find out what happens, but it is, this is a really good book, and yeah, read this. It's good. Okay, what the heck? The next book I haven't read in like 3 or 4 years, but if you are going to read any of the books on this list, you need to read this one. It is so good. Okay, this is called Since You've Been Gone. It is by the author Morgan Mason. The next book I have to show you is also by this author, but this one is about 2 best friends, and one of them disappears. And so Sloane is wondering where her best friend went, and her best friend left a list of things to do. And they're all things that Sloane would never do. Like, they have a few on the back, like skinny dipping, kiss a stranger, dance until dawn, apple picking at night. Like, all stuff that she normally wouldn't do, because she's not like an outgoing person who likes to do like crazy stuff like that. So she thinks that if she finishes this list, that maybe it could lead to her friend. So throughout the book, she starts to do all these crazy things by herself, and then she meets this guy, and he ends up helping her go through the list to find her best friend. And it is really a heart-touching story about these two best friends, and also a little romance. And yes, I would read this 100%. I'd read it like 5 more times, so you should. The last book is The Unexpected Everything, like I said, also by Morgan Mason. And I just read this book recently, and it is really good. I forgot to mention all of these books kind of like take place during the summertime, and that's why this is in like summer reads. But this is about a girl, and she's very closed off. She doesn't want to get too close to guys and like talk about personal stuff. So all the relations she's been in, she's only been in for a few weeks until it starts to get personal, and then she backs off. So she had a job opportunity for the summer, but then it fell through. So she needs to get a new job. She gets a job walking dogs, and she meets this guy who needs his dog to be walked, and they end up talking, and she really likes him, and so they end up going on a date. But when he starts to ask personal stuff, she's like, you know, I don't want to open myself up to him and be vulnerable. But then as the book goes on, she also like starts to open up more. So it's sort of like Finding Audrey with like the anxiety, and like starts to open up more. But this is more that she's just worried about what other people think. Like, she had a mother die, and she doesn't really like to talk about it. But throughout the book, she learns that it's okay to like let people in your life and be open about stuff like that. So that is all the books that I have for you guys. Comment down below if you've read any of these, or if you plan to read any of these. And check out next week's video, so subscribe so you can see that, because I have a really good video coming next week. So as always, I will see you next week when I upload. Ooh, oh my god. Bye.